April 1990, Greenwich Council will become the local education authority and ILEA will cease to exist. The council will take over all the schools, colleges, staff and educational facilities in the borough. This is a big change, but Greenwich Council leader Dave Picton is determined that this is not going to disrupt life in the borough schools.
Oh, it's going to be a huge task. It means twice as many staff and double the budget. But we've been working at it hard with ILEA staff since last June, and we're determined that when we get to April 1990 there'll be as little disruption as possible, and I hope the children in the school won't even notice it.
So the first message is that Greenwich is working towards a smooth transition, and they're starting to plan now. In February 1989, Greenwich must submit a development plan to the Department of Education, saying how the council has prepared to take over and what sort of education they intend to provide. To help decide that, the council is consulting the people of Greenwich on what they think. This consultation document covers every area of education, from adult education to under fives, and a range of issues, from school meals to teacher recruitment. It talks about the kind of education service the council envisages. Dave Picton again.
What we want to do in Greenwich is provide a comprehensive education service, open and accessible to everybody, regardless of their age, regardless of their race or sex or background. What we want from the schools is to provide a good quality education for all pupils, regardless of what their ability is, so that they're qualified for a good job, they're qualified to live out their life in the fullest possible sense.
All the schools and colleges in the borough will be taken over by Greenwich, intact and unchanged. Let's look at some of the issues the council must tackle. The new national curriculum sets down what children at primary school must learn, emphasising certain basic subjects. Greenwich agrees that this is important, but also recognises that primary schools in inner London are admired for the work they do. They provide a stimulating environment where children can develop the skills they need: listening, talking, writing, reading. The council's aim is to ensure that this continues, that learning should not become boring and repetitive for the children. Parents are worried about the tests the government is introducing at age 7 and 11. Everyone will want to make sure that these tests do not in any way condemn children like these to failure at an early age, as happened with the old 11+. Greenwich will aim to ensure that all children are well prepared and enthusiastic when the time comes for them to move on to their secondary schools.
And I said that you were to decide how you wanted to do your work about.
These first years have just begun life in the big school. It is a big change for them, and Greenwich will want to make sure that primary and secondary schools work closely together so that children are well prepared and there is continuity in their lessons.
Be careful when you fly.
The development plan must contain proposals for every other part of the service as well. There are more places available for under fives in Greenwich than in many other parts of London. Greenwich will want to keep the number of places as high as possible, even though by law local authorities do not need to provide places for those under 5. The council will look at the basis on which places for under 5s are allocated to make sure they go to those who need them most. One area that must be resolved is the future education of the 16 and overs. The drop in population means that schools no longer have their own sixth forms. Instead, they work in cooperation with one another. When, in the summer of 1987, ILEA looked again at how best to deal with 16 to 19 education, there was no agreement on how to proceed. But the problem is not going to go away, and the borough is going to have to find how best to provide properly for 16+ students through into the 1990s and beyond. In the short term, Greenwich will try to improve the sixth form arrangements we have now by reducing travelling times between sites and providing students with better information about the courses available. They will also be looking for more cooperation between schools and Woolwich College. Education provision must take into account cultural differences and the need for a multicultural approach to education. Greenwich will want to sustain the achievements of ILIA in this field and build on them so that pupils of all backgrounds achieve their best. Greenwich believes that racism has no place in schools or colleges, nor do sexist attitudes. Every child should find in school the chance to fulfil their potential in an atmosphere of mutual respect and disciplined study. Equal opportunities cannot just be words. It means ensuring the widest possible range of education is available, including support for children for whom English is a second language, and that all children are encouraged to extend themselves. Greenwich recognises special educational needs as a priority area. Greenwich will aim to create the right balance between integrating children with special needs into mainstream schools, special day schools and residential boarding schools. Around a third of pupils require some form of special needs input, ranging from special help with learning to read, assistance for those with sight and hearing impairments, to the specialised, often high-tech support given at the Charlton Park Centre for Communication Handicaps. Teaching is a difficult job, and teachers have not had an easy time recently. Greenwich will do its best to support its teachers by providing high-quality learning resource and in-service training. School inspectors also have a big role to play in helping to maintain quality and standards in the Education Authority and giving support and advice to teachers. All school staff contribute to the quality of education, and Greenwich will be looking seriously at the possibilities for better career development and training for non-teaching staff. Schools are potentially a great resource for the whole community, and Greenwich will want to find ways of making better use of them in the evenings and at weekends.
Propose that there's probably a large amount of reading that needs to be done on it.
The use of schools outside school hours is one of the many things that school governors are to have a greater say in as a result of the 1988 Education Act. In a few years' time, they will have responsibilities for hiring and firing of staff, policy schools, curriculum issues, and the financial management of their schools. Greenwich wants to work closely with school governing bodies and will try to provide the training they need to take on their new responsibilities. These are just a handful of the issues that Greenwich will have to look at. There are many more. The Adult Education Service, the Career Service, the Youth Service, the list carries on. But education takes place in a wider context than just the London Borough of Greenwich, and many changes are ahead, some of them potentially damaging. In 1990, at the same time as taking over education, Greenwich, like every other local authority, will become reliant on the poll tax for the financing of its services. ILIA will have gone, and with the demise of the rating system, so will ILIA's ability to transfer rates from London's wealthier boroughs into increased educational spending in London's poorer boroughs, such as Greenwich. Once the safety net on government grant has been removed by 1994, Greenwich poll taxpayers will find themselves having to make up for this. Since in their last 2 years, ILIA will have been forced to reduce its budgets by 10% a year, it may be a different level of service that Greenwich inherits from ILIA. As it seems likely that the government will not make any cuts for a further 2 years, the budget from 1990 to 1992 will be the one that Greenwich inherits from ILIA.
Well, we aim to develop a good relationship with the schools and the colleges, with teachers, with parents, and every other branch of the service. Greenwich Council runs efficient services. The government's acknowledged that on several occasions in the past. As long as they provide us with the resources that we need, we will run a really good education service in Greenwich. This consultation exercise is the first step to doing that.
So there are some clouds on the horizon as far as education is concerned, but Greenwich is ready and determined to take on the whole service, strengths, weaknesses, problems and positive achievements.